Amen. I believe there's some church folk here, and we're certainly happy to be here, and we share in this great event. And I just want to tell you a little story, quick story, won't be long. I realize it's hard and a lot of good things, but we need to make this sacrifice to come out and to share. And one of the things that I'm reminded of as being a person of 60 age, I remember in myself personally in 1963, and I was watching the other day The Butler, and I was amazed at how much I have lived in what is portrayed in that portrait, because in 1963, while they were doing their thing at F.W. Woolworth across the street, blacks couldn't go in and sit, and they were beating them and pushing them out. I was across the street at J.C. Penney's, and I received the greatest beat down that I've received as a child growing up. My mother and grandmother beat me down in J.C. Penney's. They were at the counter. They were doing some business, and as a little boy, I strolled off and I saw these two fountains. One was labeled for white only, and the other was labeled for color. And as a young boy, not knowing any different, I drank out of the one that said white only. And when my mother and grandmother came and saw me drinking out of the fountain that said white only, they went berserk. They started beating me and hollering and telling me, don't drink from that fountain. Don't you know it's against the law for you to drink out of that fountain? Don't you know it's a crime? You can be arrested and really beat down for drinking out of that water fountain. And I just wanted to testify as to what has been said here, that we owe Dr. King and so many others a great reward, and we ought to say thank you right now. Amen. That you don't have to be challenged and beat down like I was as a little boy. Amen. And we thank God. And I'm about to come to a conclusion, because I know you got a lot of people, but I do want to say one thing. The question has been repeatedly raised. What shall we do after the march? What shall we do after the march? What shall we do, as Dr. King said, when you go back to Georgia and South Carolina and Florida? I want to ask you, what shall we do when you go back to Green Line and when you go back to Haney Street and Piedmont Mountain and Figure? What shall we do? But I want to say to the men that we need to remain in the lives of our children. I've served on the parole board, juvenile for a number of years, and doing some other things, and I want to encourage it. What shall we do about the crime and the arrest of all of our young men and women? What shall we do? I want to tell the men to stay in the lives of their children, to remember that wife, that woman that you laid down with and you conceived. You promised her, you gave her some thoughts that you would be with her. I want you to stay with her. And if by chance you can't stay with her, I want you to stay in the lives of those children. They need you. That boy needs you. He don't just need your check, your child support. He needs you. Society needs you to stay in the life of these children. Cut down on the crime rate and the deficiency and the dysfunction that we see. And then I want to tell you men, stay in the life of your children, because you're going to need them children. There's so many stories when you leave them, and then when they get old and become something, here you come. But I want to testify as one whose daddy left him and didn't get to come back. But if he'd have came back and saw me as what I am now, author of books and doing all I'm doing, I don't know you. I wish I had a praying church. Amen. Amen. I'm talking to somebody. You got to stay in the lives of your children. And then when you get old, and they know you've been there, they'll bless you tremendously. Give the Lord a round of applause for being great and good. Amen. Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor Lomax.